What's up, guys? My name is Guadagni with 5 Tool Sports Science. Got a good video coming for you guys today. We are located right here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So video is going to be on role of pelvis and trunk biomechanics in baseball pitching. We're going to be looking at key takeaways for athletes for enhancing performance and preventing injury based on the research by Carl F. Orishimo from 2022. He's looking at 23 high school pitchers and 6 college pitchers. Keep in mind the average velocity was 74.9 and the highest was 81. This was done in like a lab setting. So like when you're throwing indoors and likely they're doing markered motion capture, it's hard to produce your highest velo. So just keep in mind that this is like 75 to 81-ish velocity, okay? All right, so we're looking at importance of pelvis and trunk in pitching velocity. The study found peak trunk rotational velocity explained 25% of ball velocity variability. All right, so that's just going to be looking at the angular velocity of the trunk. Again, hitting front foot strike, hips are open, shoulders are closed. Okay, 25% of the ball velocity variability just came from the peak trunk rotation angular velocity. Okay, so just how fast this is rotating. Okay. A 10% increase in trunk velocity equated to about a 5% increase in ball velocity. That's a huge finding for baseball pitchers. So again, in a previous video that we've done, we talked about the 88% of ball velocity variance in pro pitchers was determined just by trunk power. This is again showing that a 10% increase in trunk velocity, how quickly you're moving that trunk, equates to about a 5% increase in ball velocity. More evidence showing the power of the trunk and just getting it to rotate and explode faster is directly equating to increased ball velocity, okay? Hip to shoulder separation and peak pelvis velocity strongly influence trunk velocity. So what does that mean? Hip to shoulder separation and peak pelvis velocity. So peak pelvis velocity, again, in angular velocity, how quickly that this hip is rotating, okay? And then the hip to shoulder separation is what degree of the pelvis opening towards your target and the shoulders staying closed are we creating? All right. So both of those are strongly influencing how fast the trunk rotates, and the trunk rotation is directly equating to ball velocity. Okay. So that's how like the kinetic chain is working in its essence of how the lower half is transferring energy from the ground through the hips to the trunk to the arm. All right. That's the sequencing, the timing, the coordination, and then also the power behind it, which is coming from the velocity, okay, of your trunk. Okay. So effective pelvis trunk interaction is crucial for maximizing pitching velocity. Okay, so these are some modifiable factors for performance enhancement. Hip to shoulder separation at foot contact. Greater separation stretches trunk muscles, storing elastic energy for powerful rotation. So here's a picture of it. Pelvis opening, shoulders closed, at front foot contact, all right, as this front foot hits the ground, okay? So hip to shoulder separation, the amount of it that you can hold at front foot contact. So a common thing that you'll see with low velocity guys is that by the time they're hitting front foot contact, they're early trunk rotating, they're hitting front foot strike, and their trunk has already started to rotate, so we're losing that stretch in our core, okay? All right, so peak pelvis rotational velocity is going to be faster pelvis rotation leads to higher trunk velocity. So again, just that faster hip rotation. We're looking here, faster here is going to lead to a faster trunk velocity, just passing that energy up the chain. Okay. Training to improve pelvis to trunk disassociation can increase ball velocity without stressing the arm. That's a key thing here is getting better at disassociating the pelvis and the shoulders. Again, just another word for hip to shoulder separation. The hips going forward, the shoulders staying closed. It can increase ball velocity with lowering stress to the arm. So we're looking at injury prevention there. That significantly helps. Okay, training implications for athletes. Focus on strength and power. Let me get some of that out of the way. Just focus on strength and power training of hips and lower body to boost pelvis rotation velocity, okay? Develop ability to disassociate pelvis and trunk through progressive drills. Target trunk mechanics to improve velocity while reducing throwing arm stress. All right, so some of the stuff that we'll work on, lower half body strength and power, using some sort of water bags or med balls, to improve the ability to rotate the hips, to rotate the trunk, and then some sort of strengthening exercise for it, whether it's in cables or flywheel or something like that. Okay. Injury prevention insights. So in the study, they talked about weighted ball training can increase velocity, but it carries a high injury risk. 24% injury rate reported, especially to the elbow. This is from the Mike Reynolds weighted ball study. Increasing ball velocity via pelvis and trunk mechanics may reduce arm overload and injury risk. So again, just talking about how hip to shoulder separation is actually can lower stress on the arm and help you throw harder. Proper kinematic sequencing is essential, but timing variables do not directly affect velocity. They may relate more to injury risk. This was an interesting finding in the study of kinematic sequencing is going to be the energy transfer of the hips to the trunk, to the arm, what's called the summation of speed principle, okay? With each factor building off. So we've got like our hip rotation peak, our trunk rotation peak, okay? And then your arm rotation peak. And each link feeds off of each other. So the timing of it, of when it's happening in the delivery, it was not directly affecting velocity, all right? And it may relate more to injury risk. That's really interesting. So it's like, you can see in some of like MLB pitchers breakdowns, a guy who comes to mind right off the top is going to be like Shohei Ohtani. I don't think that he does like a tremendous job of kinematically sequencing. His hips and his shoulders kind of rotate together as one. That's not super great timing and sequencing, but he's so explosive. He can rotate so fast. He's so athletic that he can make up for that. So like some of the things that we know, they said like vertical jump was he's like the third highest in the Dodgers organization from an interview, I think, with Gavin Lux. We know from his swing speed that he was in like the 90th to like the 94th percentile for bat speed. That shows that he's got a ton of rotational velocity. And then sprint speeds in like 20 and 21, he was in like the 90th or 92nd percentile. So he's 6'5", 200 and something pounds. He can run super fast. He can jump really high and he can rotate really fast. Shocker, he doesn't have perfect kinematic sequence, but he can still throw the ball 103 miles per hour, okay? So it's not all just about, hey, having perfect kinematic sequence. It helps to transfer energy. It certainly may help more for the injury prevention, but for ball velocity, it's still showing more evidence that just the freakish rotational power, and especially power coming from the trunk, is separating these high velocity throwers, okay? So the takeaway for pitchers, in my opinion, I'm starting to lean more and more to, mechanics are important. Don't hear that I'm not saying mechanics aren't important, but the biggest bang for your buck is developing more rotational power, getting better at exploding that trunk, okay? The timing and the sequencing, all of that is important. It does help, but the biggest bang for your buck in terms of if you've got pretty good skill, like you're pretty good at already having a basic foundation of pitching mechanics, is develop more rotational power. Yes, you still need to work on pitching mechanics. I'm not saying that you don't. I'm just saying that the biggest bang for your buck, oh my gosh, I've got my little kids writing 6'7" up here. Embarrassing. All right. The biggest bang for your buck is going to be that rotational power. Okay, summary and future directions. Pelvis and trunk biomechanics are key to increasing pitching velocity safely. Use biomechanical feedback to monitor pelvis trunk coordination and optimize pitching mechanics. Okay, so that's motion capture is really big for that. Training should emphasize lower body strength, hip to shoulder separation, and trunk rotation velocity. Okay. Further research needed on training methods to enhance these factors and their impact on injury prevention. Athletes should balance performance goals with arm health by focusing on whole body mechanics. I would also add in there arm strength. You don't want to build a super powerful body from the legs to the hips to the trunk, and then your arm is weak as all get out, because that's going to be a huge cause of injury as well. All right, and that's for another video of just talking about strengthening the arm. Don't let that be a weak link in the kinetic chain. Okay, I hope it helps, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.